The morning had dawned clear and bright, a stark contrast to the turmoil that was about to unfold. I was enjoying the rare tranquility that only a Sunday morning can offer, coffee in hand, when the unexpected sound of a knock echoed through my apartment. It was too early for visitors, and I wasn't in the habit of receiving many. Annoyance pricked at me as I set my coffee down and made my way to the door, preparing to dispatch whoever had disturbed my peace with a few choice words. Pulling open the door, I was met with a sight that rooted me to the spot. Clara, my ex-wife, stood there, looking as if she carried the weight of the world on her shoulders. Her eyes, once so full of life and mischief, now seemed dulled, haunted even. "Alex," she began, her voice a whisper of its former confidence. I need to talk to you." I stared at her, disbelief and anger warring within me. "Clara, what are you doing here? How did you even find me?" She shifted uncomfortably, avoiding my gaze. "I followed you from your mother's house," she admitted, a hint of shame coloring her tone. "Please, can we talk?" I should have said no. Every fiber of my being screamed to shut the door in her face, to erase her presence from my life, as I had tried to do with the memories of our marriage. Yet something in her demeanor, a vulnerability I hadn't seen before, made me pause. "Why should I let you in, Clara?" "After everything," I said, the words laced with bitterness. "I know I have no right to ask anything of you, Alex. But please, it's important," she pleaded, her eyes meeting mine for the first time since she arrived. Against my better judgment, I stepped aside, allowing her into the space I had painstakingly rid of her essence. As she walked past me, a familiar scent stirred memories I thought I had buried deep within me. We moved to the living room in silence, an awkward tension settling between us. I gestured for her to take a seat, keeping my distance as I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Clara looked around the room, taking in the changes, the new life I had built without her. "Your place looks nice," she said, a weak attempt at small talk. "This isn't a social visit, Clara. What do you want?" I cut to the chase, my patience wearing thin. She took a deep breath, steeling herself. "Alex, I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. And I still love you. I want to try again," she confessed, her voice trembling with emotion. The audacity of her words struck me like a physical blow. Love. After the lies, the affair, the betrayal. A bitter laugh escaped me before I could stop it. "Try again? After you chose him over us? Clara, you destroyed everything. How can you even say that?" I demanded, my voice rising in disbelief. Clara flinched at my tone, but she pressed on. "I know, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. But I've changed, Alex. I've realized where my heart truly lies." I shook my head, disbelief and anger swirling within me. "You have some nerve showing up here, saying these things. Do you think I can just forget what you did? That we can pretend none of it ever happened?" She reached out, as if to touch my arm, but I stepped back, putting more distance between us. "Please, Alex, just hear me out. There's more I need to tell you. It's about Leo." The mention of a name I didn't recognize caught me off guard, and I could feel the carefully constructed walls around my heart beginning to crack. What more could she possibly throw my way? The air in the room felt charged, heavy with the weight of Clara's unexpected arrival and her shocking plea. My mind was a tumult of emotions, disbelief and anger jostling with a haunting curiosity about the mention of this unknown Leo. I had braced myself for many things when I saw Clara standing at my door, but a plea for reconciliation was not one of them. "Who's Leo?" I asked, my voice tight, every instinct telling me that I might not want to hear the answer. Clara hesitated, her hands twisting in her lap, a clear sign of nervousness. "Leo is our son," she finally said, her eyes lifting to meet mine, brimming with a mixture of fear and hope. The room seemed to spin around me. "Our son," I echoed, the words feeling foreign on my tongue. "How? When?" "It happened right before everything fell apart, Clara explained, her voice barely above a whisper. I found out I was pregnant after I had moved in with Mark. I thought it was his, but I was wrong. I've had tests done. Leo is yours, Alex. The revelation hit me like a punch to the gut. A son. A part of me out there that I knew nothing about. The emotions I had been struggling to keep at bay now surged forward, unstoppable. And you're telling me this now, after all this time? I managed to say, my voice laced with disbelief and accusation. I know it's unforgivable, Clara said, her voice breaking. I was scared, and I convinced myself it was better this way. But I was wrong. So wrong. I paced the room, trying to process the magnitude of what Clara had just revealed. Anger, betrayal, but also an undeniable flicker of something else. A connection to this child I had just learned existed. Why should I believe you now, Clara? After everything you've lied about, I demanded, stopping to face her. Because I have nothing left to lose by telling you the truth. I've brought the test results, and I'll do whatever it takes to prove it to you, she replied, her determination clear. The room fell silent as I grappled with the reality before me. A part of me wanted to throw Clara out, to reject everything she had said as another one of her manipulations. But another part, a part I didn't know still existed, was drawn to the idea of this child, my child. Say I believe you, I started, my voice heavy with reservation. What do you expect to happen now? You think we can just start over? Play happy families? Clara shook her head, tears spilling over her cheeks. I don't expect anything, Alex. I needed you to know about Leo. He deserves to know his father. And I still love you. I had to try, for Leo's sake. Her plea hung between us, raw and vulnerable. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw not just the woman who had betrayed me, but someone who was genuinely remorseful, someone who had been living with the weight of her decisions. I need time, Clara, I said finally, the words heavy on my tongue. Time to think about all of this, to figure out what it means for me, for us. Clara nodded, wiping her eyes. I understand. Take all the time you need. I'll do whatever you ask for Leo's sake. As she stood to leave, the magnitude of our conversation settled around me like a cloak. I was left standing in the silence of my apartment, a million thoughts racing through my mind. A son. A chance at reconciliation. And a decision that would undoubtedly change the course of my life forever. The days following Clara's revelation were a blur of confusion and introspection. The existence of Leo, our son, lingered at the forefront of my thoughts, a constant, unignorable presence that demanded attention. Despite the whirlwind of emotions Clara's visit had stirred, one thing was clear. I needed to uncover the truth for myself. I reached out to Clara, requesting to meet Leo and to see the paternity test results she had mentioned. A part of me still wrestled with disbelief, unable to fully grasp the reality she had presented. Yet, the need to know, to see with my own eyes, outweighed the tumult of doubts and fears. We agreed to meet at a neutral location, a quiet park not far from where I lived. The day was overcast, a fitting backdrop to the uncertainty that clouded my mind as I made my way there. Clara was already waiting when I arrived, Leo by her side. Even from a distance, there was an undeniable familiarity in his features, a mirror to my own childhood photos. My heart skipped a beat as I approached, the reality of the situation settling in with each step. Alex, Clara greeted me, her voice cautious. Leo looked up at me, curiosity shining in his eyes. Hi, Clara. And you must be Leo, I said, my voice betraying none of the turmoil inside me. Leo nodded, a shy smile gracing his lips. I brought the documents you asked for, Clara said, handing me an envelope. I took it, my hands trembling slightly as I extracted the papers inside. The results were unequivocal, leaving no room for doubt. Leo was my son. I looked from the papers to Leo, a rush of emotions overwhelming me. I don't know what to say, I admitted, the words feeling inadequate. Clara gave me a small, understanding smile. It's a lot to take in. I know. Turning my attention to Leo, I knelt down to be at eye level with him. Hey, buddy. I'm Alex, your dad. It's really nice to meet you. Leo's smile widened and he nodded enthusiastically. Mom told me about you. She said you're really smart and good at fixing things. I chuckled, a warmth spreading through me at his words. Well, I'll have to show you some of my tricks then. What do you say we spend the day together, get to know each other a bit? Leo's eyes lit up, and he looked up at Clara for approval. She nodded, a mix of relief and sadness in her eyes. I think that's a wonderful idea. I'll leave you two to it. As Clara walked away, leaving Leo and me alone, a sense of responsibility settled over me. Here was a part of me, a young life that had been unknown to me, now looking up with expectation and trust. So, Leo, what do you like to do for fun? I asked, standing up and offering my hand. He took it, his small fingers wrapping around mine. I like superheroes and building stuff. Do you like superheroes? He asked, his eyes searching mine. I do, I replied, a smile tugging at my lips. Let's see if we can find some superhero adventures of our own today. As we walked through the park, Leo chattering excitedly about his favorite characters and asking a million questions, I felt a connection taking root. It was fragile, tentative, but undeniably real. Clara's betrayal and the pain of the past still lingered, but in that moment, with my son by my side, the path forward seemed a little clearer. Unveiling the truth had brought with it a whirlwind of emotions, but it had also opened the door to a future I hadn't dared to imagine. A future where Leo was a part of my life, where forgiveness might find a way, and where the pieces of a shattered past could perhaps in time be mended. The days following my meeting with Leo were filled with a cautious optimism. I had started to entertain the idea of what life could be like with him in it, a thought that brought both joy and trepidation. The past, with its shadows and pain, seemed to loom less ominously, giving way to moments of genuine happiness. That fragile peace, however, was about to be tested. It was a Thursday evening when Rachel arrived. I hadn't seen her since before Clara's betrayal had come to light, since before my world had been turned upside down. Rachel had been a close friend, a confidant, and, at one point, I had thought, perhaps something more. Her sudden departure, without explanation or farewell, had left a void, another wound among many. Her knock on my door was hesitant, a stark contrast to the Rachel I remembered, who would have barged in with a laugh and a sarcastic remark ready at her lips. I opened the door, and there she stood, looking much the same yet undeniably different. Alex, she greeted, her voice carrying a nervous edge I wasn't accustomed to. Rachel, this is a surprise, I said, my guard immediately up. What brings you here? I heard about what happened. With Clara. And I found out about Leo, she said, her eyes searching mine, looking for. What? Forgiveness? Understanding. And you decided to come back now. After all this time. I couldn't keep the bitterness from seeping into my words. Rachel flinched, as if the words had physically struck her. I know I have no right to just show up like this, but I needed to see you, to explain. I stepped aside, a silent invitation for her to enter. The curiosity, the unanswered questions about her sudden disappearance, outweighed my desire to turn her away. As we sat across from each other, the familiar yet now so distant, I waited for her to speak. Alex, when I left, it was because I found out about Clara and Mark. I saw them together, and I didn't know how to tell you, Rachel began, her voice trembling. I was a coward. I thought leaving was easier than facing you with the truth. Her admission struck a chord, a mix of anger and sadness swirling within me. So you ran, and you thought that was better. I thought I was protecting you in some twisted way. I convinced myself it was for the best, but I was wrong. I've regretted that decision every day, she said, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Why come back now, Rachel? After all this time? I asked, the question burning in my throat. Because I realized running from the problem didn't solve anything. I miss you, Alex. And when I heard about Leo, I wanted to be here for you. If you'll let me, she replied, a hopeful note in her voice. The room was heavy with the weight of her words, with the years of friendship that had been so abruptly severed. I looked at her, really looked, and saw the remorse, the genuine desire to make amends. Rachel, I don't know what to say, I admitted, the anger beginning to dissipate, leaving behind a weary sadness. There's been so much pain, so much that's happened. I know, and I'm not asking for everything to go back to how it was overnight. Can we start over? Try to rebuild what was lost, she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I sighed, the weight of her request settling over me. I don't know if we can ever go back, Rachel, but maybe we can start something new. A different kind of friendship. A smile, small but genuine, broke through her tears. I'd like that, Alex. More than you know. As Rachel left that evening, a sense of cautious hope lingered in her wake. The past could not be undone, the wounds not entirely healed. But perhaps in time, new bridges could be built, ones that spanned the chasms of pain and betrayal, leading to a future where forgiveness was possible. The days following Rachel's return were a mix of contemplation and cautious reconciliation. Our conversations, once filled with laughter and ease, now treaded carefully around the landmines of past betrayals and hurt. Yet, there was a semblance of comfort in her presence, a reminder of a time before my world had been upended by secrets and lies. It was during one of these evenings, as we sat in the dim light of my living room, nursing cups of coffee, that the topic of Clara and Leo came up again. Have you thought about what you're going to do? About Leo? Rachel asked, her voice gentle, careful not to push too hard. I sighed, setting my cup down. Every day. It's all I think about. I want to be a part of his life, Rachel. He's my son. But everything is so complicated now. Rachel nodded, understanding flickering in her eyes. It is. But Leo is innocent in all this. He needs his father, Alex. And I think you need him too. Her words echoed my own thoughts, the undeniable truth that I had been wrestling with since meeting Leo. He had brought a light into my life that I hadn't realized was missing until he arrived. I know. And I want to be there for him, to be the father he deserves. It's just, navigating everything with Clara is going to be challenging, I admitted, the weight of the situation pressing down on me. Rachel reached across the small space between us, placing a reassuring hand on mine. You're not alone in this, Alex. You have people who care about you, who will support you through this. Her touch, warm and comforting, offered a sliver of solace. Thank you, Rachel. That means a lot to me. I paused, taking a deep breath before continuing. I've been thinking about reaching out to a lawyer to see what my options are. I want to do this right for Leo's sake. That sounds like a good plan. If you need help finding someone, or if you just need someone to talk to, I'm here, Rachel offered, her sincerity shining through. I nodded, grateful for her support. I might take you up on that. The conversation shifted then to lighter topics, but the decision had been made. I would fight for my son, for the chance to be a part of his life, no matter the obstacles. Clara's betrayal had shattered my trust, but it wouldn't take away my opportunity to be a father to Leo. In the days that followed, I took the necessary steps. I met with a lawyer, laying out the situation in detail, seeking guidance on how to navigate the complex path of custody and parental rights. The process was daunting, filled with legal jargon and potential hurdles, but the thought of Leo, of building a future with him, kept me motivated. As the legal proceedings began, I found strength in the support of those around me. Rachel, despite our complicated past, was a constant presence, offering encouragement and a listening ear. Friends and family rallied, providing advice, help, and the occasional much-needed distraction. The road ahead was uncertain, fraught with challenges and the potential for more heartache. But it was a path I was determined to take, for Leo's sake and for the chance to build something beautiful from the ruins of betrayal. The decisions made in the aftermath of Clara's revelation were not easy, but they were necessary, a first step toward healing and forging a new future for myself and my son. The legal battle for Leo's custody was exhausting, a constant tug-of-war that tested my resolve at every turn. Clara, perhaps out of guilt or a newfound maternal instinct, fought hard, her lawyers presenting a formidable front. Yet, amidst the legal skirmishes and strategic maneuvers, there was an underlying current of sadness, a mourning for what could have been if not for the choices made and the trust shattered. It was during one of our strategy sessions that Rachel noticed the toll the process was taking on me. We were sitting in my study, papers and legal documents strewn across the desk, when she put her hand over mine, forcing me to pause. "Alex, you're pushing yourself too hard. This fight for Leo. It's important, yes, but you can't lose yourself in it," she said, her voice laced with concern. I looked up, meeting her gaze, and for a moment I allowed myself to feel the weight of the past months. "I don't know if I can do this, Rach. What if I lose him? What if the court decides I'm not fit to be his father?" Rachel squeezed my hand, her eyes unwavering. "You are a great man, Alex. Any court, any judge will see that. You love Leo, and you're fighting for him. That counts for more than you know." Her words were a balm to the swirling storm of doubts and fears within me. "I hope you're right. I can't imagine my life without him now." "You won't have to. I believe in you, Alex. You're going to be an amazing father to Leo, and I'll be here, every step of the way," Rachel promised, her determination clear. It was Rachel's unwavering support, along with the encouragement from my friends and family, that bolstered my spirits during the darkest days. And when the court finally granted me shared custody, the relief and joy were overwhelming. I was going to be a part of Leo's life, to watch him grow, to guide him and love him as I had always wanted. The first day Leo came to stay with me under the new arrangement was a mix of nerves and excitement. I wanted everything to be perfect for him, to make him feel at home. Rachel was there, helping me set up his room, her presence a calming force amidst my anxious preparations. As Leo walked through the door, his eyes wide with a mix of curiosity and apprehension, I knelt down to his level, opening my arms. "Welcome home, Leo. This is your place too now." Leo hesitated for a moment before running into my arms, his small body fitting perfectly against mine. "Daddy," he said, his voice muffled against my shoulder, and in that word, all the struggles, the fears, and the uncertainties melted away. "Everything's going to be okay, buddy. We're going to have so much fun together," I whispered, holding him tight. Rachel watched us, a soft smile on her lips, and in her eyes, I saw not just the friend who had stood by me through the darkest times, but a hint of something more, a potential for a future I hadn't allowed myself to consider. The path forward wasn't going to be easy. There would be challenges, adjustments, and the ongoing dynamics with Clara to navigate. But with Leo's hand in mine and Rachel by my side, I felt ready to face whatever came our way. For the first time in a long time, I was looking forward to the future, to building a life filled with love, laughter, and the promise of new beginnings. As the dust settled on the custody battle in life with Leo began to take on a new rhythm, the complexities of co-parenting with Clara emerged as a new battlefield. However, this was a battle I was determined to approach differently, with Leo's well-being as the guiding principle. Clara and I had agreed to meet at a neutral location, a quiet coffee shop downtown, to discuss the logistics of our new arrangement. The air was tense as we sat down, the history between us an unspoken specter at the table. "I want to make this work, for Leo's sake," I began, breaking the silence. "He deserves to have both his parents in his life, without being caught in the middle of any unresolved issues we might have." Clara nodded, her expression guarded. "I agree. Leo is what matters most. I'm sorry, Alex, for everything. I know my apologies can't change the past, but I truly want what's best for our son." Her admission took me by surprise, the sincerity in her voice disarming. Thank you, Clara. I appreciate that. I'm willing to put the past behind us for Leo's sake. We need to be a united front for him. A tentative peace was brokered that day, an agreement to prioritize our son's happiness and stability above all else. It was a small step, but a significant one, laying the groundwork for a co-parenting relationship built on mutual respect and compromise. Rachel was instrumental in helping me navigate these uncharted waters, her insight and empathy a guiding light. One evening, as we sat on my porch watching the sunset, I shared my hopes and fears about this new chapter. Co-parenting with Clara is going to be a challenge, but I think we're off to a good start, I said, the last rays of sunlight casting a warm glow around us. Rachel smiled, taking my hand in hers. You're doing great, Alex. It's not going to be easy, but nothing worth doing ever is. And you're not alone. I'm here for you, no matter what. Her words, filled with warmth and support, filled me with a sense of gratitude and burgeoning hope. I don't know what I'd do without you, Rach. You've been my rock through all of this. I'll always be here, Alex. You and Leo mean the world to me, she replied, her gaze meeting mine, a promise shining in her eyes. The journey ahead promised its share of challenges, but with Rachel by my side and a newfound understanding with Clara, I felt a cautious optimism. Co-parenting was a delicate dance, one that required patience, communication, and a willingness to put Leo's needs above our own. As I watched Leo play in the yard, his laughter a balm to the soul, I knew that every effort to maintain a united front with Clara was worth it. Our son was thriving, surrounded by love and support, and that was all that mattered. The path forward wasn't without its obstacles, but with a united front, a commitment to communication, and the support of those who cared for us, I was confident we could navigate the complexities of our new reality. For Leo, for our family, we would build a future defined not by the mistakes of the past, but by the possibilities of what lay ahead.